More and more of us are getting our news these days via social media, but what impact does that have on political news and maybe even more importantly, political views? This week's first person is University of Delaware professor Paul Brewer. He studied that question and joins us to talk about his findings. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
So what is the impact of social media on political candidates, political views, and users' opinions of those people?
Well, what we were interested in our study was two things. One is, do comments that ordinary citizens make on candidates' Facebook pages influence voters? So, it's obligatory for candidates these days to use social media, to use Facebook, to use Twitter, to use Instagram. But one of the interesting things about social media is it gives voters a chance to have a say back to candidates. It's interactive.
It really is sort of a very democratic kind of thing.
There's a chance for a conversation. So we were interested in what impact does that conversation have. So what we did was we created a fake candidate, a fake Facebook page for that candidate, fake posts on that fake Facebook page, and then we had fake commenters, just look like ordinary average people, make comments that were either positive or negative on the candidate's Facebook page. And we manipulated it so some voters saw the positive comments, some voters saw the negative comments. We also sometimes had the candidate respond and sometimes the candidate didn't respond. So here's what we found. These comments from random people on the candidate's page actually influenced what other voters thought about the candidate. So if there are positive comments, the people who were viewing the page, and these were Delawareans we asked online, they thought that they liked the candidate more, they thought the candidate had better qualities, and they were more likely to vote for the candidate. When they saw the negative comments, they were less likely to vote for the candidate. They thought more negative things about the candidate. The other part was, does it pay for the candidates to say something back? And we found that what the candidate said didn't make any difference. It was all what these random commenters were saying. Now, from the point of view of the people who are being influenced, they don't know these people. For all they know, these people don't even exist. And in fact, they did not even exist. So that was pretty striking to us.
So it really is that that people give weight to what other average citizens say way more than what a politician would say in response even to I guess that has kind of implications for political advertising and political messaging.
Yes, so what we think is going on is the voters, they discount what the candidate says because the candidate has an interest in trying to influence you. But these other people, there's no reason to think that they're trying to help the candidate or hurt the candidate. Voters just think they're saying what they really think. And you look at all campaign ads, there are lots of ads where they have ordinary average voters saying, well, this candidate just does this great thing. So it's kind of a social media equivalent to that.
But actual like a real, because obviously the people in the ads, well, they're being paid to look like real people. This is actually real people. Obviously not in the study, but in theory, it's real people weighing in sort of real time on
that's how people seem to react to it, which creates an interesting question for candidates. What should they do with this information? Because if they encourage their supporters to go on their Facebook page and say nice things, it seems like it would help them. If they even created fake Facebook accounts and did it, it could help them. It also might pay for them to delete all the negative comments because they can do that on their Facebook page.
So if we took a look at the kind of vast political field that's out there right now, obviously especially on the Republican side, really a ton of candidates. Is there a candidate that seems to have a leg up in the social media sort of spectrum when it comes to these types of comments?
Well, I think not so much on Facebook, but on Twitter. If I think of a candidate using social media right now, I think of Donald Trump.
Sure. Because
he's almost the real first Twitter age candidate. He gets into Twitter wars with people. He uses, and when he tweets something, it gets retweeted a lot. It gets talked about in the news. And so it gets people not only through social media, but through the broader, more traditional media.
And so obviously he hasn't made his decision public yet, but where does Joe Biden kind of fit into all of this? Obviously he would get a lot of support from, you would think, Delaware commenters on social media.
Yes, and he was part of the Obama campaign in 2008 and 2012. And if you think of any presidential level campaign that has made effective use of new technology and new media and social media, it's that campaign. So you'd have to think that he'd have some useful experience in using things like Facebook and Twitter as part of a campaign if he does decide to get in, and we may find that out soon.
Right. So moving forward in sort of the broad political campaign, do you see social media, Facebook, Twitter, becoming more important maybe for a candidate than, say, television advertising? That we've seen so many political ads that you kind of just turn them off when they come on, but Facebook, maybe because of these comments in your study, becomes much more important in the next cycle and the next cycle?
And I don't think we're there yet in terms of it being more important than television ads. I think that's down the road, but certainly it's important. It's something that candidates have to do now. And it's getting harder and harder to reach people through traditional methods like campaign ads. You know, there are so many outlets that people are watching, it's hard to reach them all. And campaigns really have to use all the tools available. And so this is something that's part of their campaign toolbox. And as more and more people, you know, about 70, 80% of the public uses Facebook. So that's a huge audience. And that's the wave of the future. As each new presidential election, candidates are going to have to be more and more invested in this way of reaching voters.
All right, University of Delaware professor Paul Brewer. He teaches communication and political science. He's also the director of University of Delaware Center for Political Communication in Newark. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.